So I'm sitting in the corner of my living room here recording this video because a colleague in the office once jokingly said, Ope, I think you need to make a video on how to be happy because you're always happy, you're always positive, you always seem to be smiling, everything seems to be nice for you. And I get that comment quite a lot of times from colleagues, from friends, from family members, and from neighbors, and it just, Ope, how do you do it? You always seem to be so happy and positive, even when the weather is down, even when things don't seem to be going too well. And it was a comment that the colleague just made, but I gave it some thought, and here we are doing this video. So today I'm going to be talking about 5 tips to have a lovely day every day. 5 tips on how you can be happy every single day, regardless of what's happening around you. Some people say that some people say that some people. Sometimes people say there are people who are naturally born happy. They just have a happy bone, they just have a happy gene, and regardless of what happens, they just go through life, breathe through life, smiling, happy, without a worry. Everything's always hunky-dory, regardless of what's happening. And there are others who cannot necessarily be like that. That statement, I will say, is correct but incomplete, because I believe that it comes more naturally to some people than to others to do the things that make for happiness. But the truth is, at the end of the day, we can all do something that leads to happiness. We can all form habits that lead to happiness. And for me, for the purposes of what I want to talk about today, I'm going to summarize the formation of those habits. I'm going to share it in 5 quick points, and you want to listen to the end, so that because the 5th point I'm going to be talking about is a leveler. It's something that provides, it's a tip that provides a level playing ground for everybody, regardless of your natural disposition, regardless of your temperament, regardless of your situation. It provides a level playing ground for anybody and everybody to live a happy life and have a happy day every day. And the first thing is, look away from the negativity, look away from the things that are causing you distress, look away from the things that are pulling you down, look away from the things that bring your mood down. If there are people who you find out that every time you speak with them, every time you spend time with them, you end up feeling unhappy, you end up feeling anxious, you end up feeling distressed, you find out that everything you talk about is all about the woes that are going on, and the truth is you don't need that extra, because all you need to do is spend 5 minutes on the news and you would have heard of one natural disaster somewhere, you would have heard of a kidnapping somewhere, you would have heard of a war going on somewhere. But you know what I'm talking about. There's always something horrible happening on the news. So you don't need that extra negativity coming into your life of maybe a family member, a colleague, or a neighbor adding to that. Do an audit of your life, your company, the people around you, your habits. What are the things that you do, and you find out that at the end of doing those things, you are worse off as far as your mood is concerned than when you began. You don't need that extra stuff. You don't need that extra drama in your life. So look away from the negative things. And someone once said that life is like a ladder in which one side of the ladder, one upright of the ladder represents things that are working in your life, and the other represents the things that are not working, and then that both are connected by the rungs. At any level in life, no matter how low in life you are or how high in life you are, there's always going to be one thing at least that is working and another that is not working. And the sum total of your feelings, of your mood, of your disposition is going to depend on what you choose to focus on. Remember, I said anybody can be happy because anybody can choose what to focus on. There's nobody's life that is so good that there isn't something that's not working. And there's nobody's life that is so bad that there is not at least one thing that they can be thankful for. So the way you feel at the end of the day depends on what you're focusing on. If all you're looking at is the things that are not working, then you're not going to be aware of the things that are going on that you've got good for you. And if you choose to focus on the things that are working, the things that are happy, the things that bring pleasant feelings, the things that good memories and happy memories are made up of, then people will look at you and think, oh, there's really not a single thing out of place in this guy's life. But the truth is you're only reflecting what you have chosen to focus on. So am I saying play the ostrich, bury your head in the sand and pretend that nothing is going wrong, like everything's perfect. No, what I'm saying is choose what you focus on. Negative things, I always say, deal with in two ways. There's those things that you can control, those things you can do something about, and there's those things that you cannot do anything about. For the ones that you can do something about, for instance, I made the choice not to watch the news, not to read newspapers, because it ended up depressing me. The truth is, at the end of the day, I still got to know the thing. I got to know what was going on because of the circles that I move in. And that's the second thing. You can control your circles. There are certain people I found out that whenever I spoke with them, all we ended up doing was complain. And the complaint was always about specific things, about certain things. And those things we had no power to change. So what did I do? I changed my communication. I changed my circle with regards to that. Look away from the things that distract you from your pursuit of happiness. The second point is look around. Look around you. Unfortunately, the world is becoming more and more individualistic. We're becoming so personal that we're forgetting that we are social beings. No wonder more than ever there's an epidemic of loneliness. That's why the fact that there's over 6 billion people walking on the face of the earth. Over a quarter of young people living in the United Kingdom today will tell you that they feel lonely, they feel isolated, and that's because we are no longer looking around. We have become so self-absorbed. We're only concerned about what concerns us. We're only concerned about making a living. We're only concerned about how the world impacts on us. What's in it for me? How does it work well for me? What's convenient for me? And because of that, we are not looking around, and therefore we believe that the whole world, we may not know that that's what we believe, but we are getting to a point where people view the world as existing just for them. And so we're all absorbed in this tiny island of me, myself, and I. But when you look around, the first thing it does is that it makes you aware. Now, we may know this, but we're not aware of it on a level where it really makes an impact on the way we think, the way we decide, and the way we feel. When you look around, it makes you aware that there is more to this life than just you. And so the fact that you are probably having a bad day, or probably you just had some bad news, it doesn't mean the world is necessarily a bad place. But when your life is all about you, when all you see is you and how things affect you, then you tend to feel when you have a bad day that the whole world is a bad place. But when you look around, it makes you realize first that the world is not all about you. Second, it makes you realize that there are people who are facing the same challenges as you are, and yet they are happy, yet they are making success, they are making progress. That should become for you motivation. Yes. So when you look around and you see that there are people who are facing the same challenges as you are, and yet are able to make progress, yet they are succeeding in one way or the other, that becomes a motivation that if it can happen for them, then it can happen for me. Where I come from, they will say that guy doesn't have two heads, meaning he's a human being, he's a person just like myself. So if he can make it work, then I can make it work yourself. And the third thing is, you'll find that there are people who, despite everything, don't have it as good as you do. And that should make you grateful. That should be an encouragement that, look, I am not the worst after all. There are people who would give an arm and a leg to have what I have. And so that makes you grateful. And when you are grateful, it comes across, it comes out, it reflects, it shows in a happy disposition. And so that's another way how you can remain happy. Remember, look away from the negative. Look around as you see that the world is not all about you, and you see that there are people who are making it, who are happy. That becomes a motivation. And you see that there are people who have it worse than you despite all their best efforts. That becomes a point for gratitude for you. So you are able to appreciate what you have. You are able to look at what you have and identify, even though I don't have everything, I have this one, which puts me in a better position than those who don't have it. And so I'm grateful for it. And it makes you happy despite the fact that things are not necessarily perfect for you. And that brings me to the third point. That felt so good. The third tip on how to have a lovely day every day is look out. Look out. Look out for another person. I said it earlier that we were designed and created as social beings. We were not created to live in isolation. And that's why in prisons, one of the highest forms of punishment is they isolate them. They put them in solitary detention, remove them from general population, and lock them up in a cell all by themselves, because human beings were designed to be interdependent. And so when you are looking out for another person, you burst that bubble of me, myself, and I, and you find out that there's somebody who has it not as good as you, and it is within your power to be of assistance, to be of help to that person. You are actually fulfilling your fundamental purpose as a human being. And there is a kind of joy, there's a kind of happiness that comes out from doing what you were created to do. That's why you find out that a sportsman or an entertainer, maybe they're not making that much money, but they derive joy from doing what they do, because that's what they were wired for. And as human beings, we're wired to live in a community, to be a part of that, part of a community, whether it's your work community, whether it's your neighborhood community, whether it's your family community. We're all created to be interconnected with each other. And so when you break out of your personal circle and you offer assistance and you contribute to another life, you are fulfilling your purpose as a human being. And there is a joy, an indescribable joy that comes from that. I want you to challenge yourself. Commit to doing a good act every day. A good act doesn't necessarily have to be something big. Something as little as a smile. There was a song we used to sing when we were kids, that a smile is something, when you give it away, it comes right back to you. It says it's like a magic penny. If you hold it back, you wouldn't have any, or something like that anyways. But the point is, life is all about giving. And giving doesn't have to be something massive. Like I said, something like a smile, something like a compliment. You see someone wearing something that you think is nice, compliment them. Oh, you look lovely today. Or that was a great thing you did yesterday. Well done. There was a story I heard, I don't know how true it is, about somebody who were really down on their luck and decided that they were going to end it and they were going to take their own lives. And they intended to do that by jumping off a bridge. And so on the morning of the day they intended to end their life, they had a little rethink and said, probably the world isn't such a bad place after all. Maybe things aren't, maybe I'm just overreacting. However, if the world really is not a terrible place, if people really aren't as terrible as I think, if between the house and the bridge, one person just as much as looked at me kindly and smiled at me, even if they didn't say hello, if they just smiled, they decided that they were not going to go ahead and take their lives. And so I always think to myself, if I were one of the people who encountered that person on their way to jump off the bridge, how would the story end? If you were that person, that if you were one of the people that encountered that person on the way, would they still go ahead? Would you have been the one person to give them a smile? You never know what people are going through. I mean, like I said, if you don't look around, you think you are the only person who's got things on your mind. But when you look around, you find out that there are people who are going through a whole lot worse than you. And so when you have that disposition and you do a kind act every day, smile at someone, say hello to someone, ask someone, how's your day going? You see them having a bad day, say an encouraging word. You never know how far a kind word, a kind gesture would go. Offer your space on the queue to somebody who you think needs it more than you. Offer your seat on the bus or in the tube to somebody who you think needs it more than you. Try that for a month. See if your life doesn't change. Remember, I said it's about habits. Make it a habit. Commit to doing a good act, a kind act every day. Or maybe start from every week before going to every day. And the fourth point. Gosh, whoever invented coffee. The fourth point is look good. Remember, look away from the negativity, look around, look out for somebody, and look good. Somebody says the way you dress is the way you'll be addressed, and therefore dress the way you want to be addressed. If you want to be happy, then you've got to dress happy. You've got to look happy. The first thing which everybody has is a smile. You don't go around with a frown and expect to have a happy day, because when you go about with a frown, when you let whatever it is you are going through reflect on your face in a frown, in a scowl, what you're going to get back is scowls. I mean, I'm a naturally happy-go-lucky person. I would smile, I would hug anybody I see. However, when I encounter people who are consistently frowning and scowling, I tend to stay away from such people. Now, they may not necessarily be unfriendly people. That's the message that they pass across by their frowns, by their scowls. So, first, at least look neutral. Don't look, look good. Dress good. It's been scientifically proven that colors affect our moods. And all you need to do is walk into a restaurant or a fast food outlet. They always have bright colors. They always have lively colors. They always make sure the place is well lit. Why? Because that puts you in a good mood, in a good disposition. I hear that some colors are also attached to our appetite, and that some colors make us more disposed to eat than others. So you would expect that restaurants will use such colors to put you in an upbeat mood, so that you are not too conscious of the fact that you are spending money. On the reverse, a tavern or a pub or a drinking house would usually have low lights, dull colors, to put you in a more somber mood, so that you feel you need a pickup, so that you feel you need something in your system to improve your mood. So these are the different ways that colors affect our mood. Why don't we apply that in our dressing? I'll give an example. There was a day I was going to go to work in a plain blue shirt, in a suit, wear a suit with a plain blue shirt. But I woke up that morning and I, for some reason, was just feeling rather groggy. I wasn't feeling good, I was feeling down, and I was like, look, I don't want to feel like this today. So if I'm already feeling this way, I don't want to reflect the way I feel. And so I decided instead to go for a floral shirt. And this was in winter. I get that comment all the time that only Ope can pull off a flowery shirt in the winter. But my answer to that is always, it's already looking drab. Why should I add to that darkness by wearing dark colors? I don't want to feel dark, don't want to feel drab. So I'm going to wear bright colors to reflect the way I feel, but also reflect the way I want to feel. And so that day I chose to wear a flowery shirt, and I was about to get on the bus at Liverpool Street, and a woman walked up to me with this large smile on her face, and she said, that's a lovely shirt you're wearing. And I was like, oh, thank you very much. And she also had, I think it was a handbag, a beautiful bag she was wearing or something, and I commended her bag as well. And we both had a very quick 2-minute banter at the bus stop, and just like that, my mood had changed, my mood had picked up, and I can tell she also began to have a lovely day as well. I don't know how her day was before that point, but I know she walked away smiling. I walked away smiling. And even though I was already planning to walk my way out of that bad mood, because of what I chose to wear, that happened quicker than I expected it would. So don't dress to reflect your mood. Put in some effort. I know it's easier to just put on a hoodie, slip into Crocs and walk out. But when you take the time, sometimes even the process of selecting, of picking out what you want to wear can improve your mood, because you mentally engage. You know, your mind is not just on autopilot, just putting on the next available thing, and just don't take. And this again, I said comes more naturally to some people than others. But in looking around, when you find out that there are people who have a better dress sense than you, who are able to pick colors that you kind of admire, you can borrow a leaf from them. So yes, dress well. Take the time to look neat at the very least. You may not be able to combine colors well, but you can put a smile on your face. You can look neat. Comb your hair, brush your teeth, if you're a lady, put on earrings or jewelry or something. Just smarten up a bit. It will change the way people interact with you to start with, and it puts you yourself in a better mood. So yeah, look good. Dress the way you want to be addressed. If you want to be addressed happily, dress happily, and Again, do that for a month and let's see how things change. And the last and final point, like I said, is a leveler. It provides a level playing field for everybody. It's something that, even though the first 4 points, like it became apparent in the last one that I spoke about, come more naturally to some people than others. There are some people who naturally do those first 4 things, and some people have to put in a little more effort before they can do it. But with this last point, anybody, and I mean anybody, can do it. And I would recommend that everybody should do this, and that is to look up. What do I mean by look up? As human beings, we are limited. We all have limitations. Just look back at the beginning of the year. You probably made some decisions, you probably made some resolutions about some changes you wanted to make in your life, some things you wanted to start doing, some things you wanted to stop doing, some things you wanted to increase, some things you wanted to reduce. You wanted to lose weight, you wanted to add weight, you wanted to go to the gym a little more, you wanted to be a little more friendly, you wanted to spend some more time with your family. Assess those decisions you made. Chances are you haven't done exactly as well as you thought you should. And it's not because you are necessarily a lazy person, not because you are necessarily a weak person, just because you are human. It's human nature. We are limited. We have limitations. There's only that far we can go. And so if our happiness, if our success depended on our efforts, on our energy, on our ability, then they are very limited in what we can achieve. And that's where it's important to look up to a higher power, to look up to something that is greater than yourself, to look up to something that you know has that energy to go on when your own energy has stopped. I always refer to an experiment that was done with rats that had been thrown into water several times and brought out. And when they were eventually thrown into water one final time with another set of rats that had never been thrown in water, the rats that had been rescued 2, 3, 4 times before had developed something called hope. And so they were able to outswim and outlast the rats that had never had an experience of being rescued. And that's what belief in a higher power does. It gives you hope. It gives you a level of assurance to a certain degree that this is not where it's going to end, that there is something more after now, that even when I get to the end of myself, there's an extra reserve that I can rely on. There's an extra power that I can fall back on that helps me to make it through the things that are greater than myself. Remember, I talked about things that you can control and things you cannot control. When you handle the things that you can control, then you can hand over the things that you cannot control to a higher power. I personally look up to a belief in God. I have a strong faith in God, and I can guarantee you it has worked for me every single time. Whatever it is, there is always something. If all my success depended on my abilities and my energies, then I'm totally finished. And so, I would encourage everybody, look up to something bigger than yourself. Look up to something more than yourself. Explore, ask questions, and you'll find out that it puts you in a place of happiness and joy and relaxation, that even though everything is not working, I know that there's something bigger than me, bigger than my circumstances, that I can rely on to get me through this difficult time. And it makes it easier to go through times of hardship, times of difficulty. So there you are, 5 points to have a lovely day. First, look away from negativity. Second, look around. Third, look out for someone. 4, look good. And 5th, look up. Go ahead and have a lovely day. Let me have your comments, your thoughts, your reactions, your criticisms. What's something you don't agree with, something you strongly agree with, an experience you had that buttresses anything I've said. I really look forward to seeing your comments. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching to the end. I'll probably see you in another video I'm going to do very soon. Have a lovely day.